kira-kira kayak gitu harga berapa kalau mereka mau beli Pak?
15-20 Aragoke yang
Ukurannya?
klap dengan kemasan tadi.
Ukurannya berapa?
15 sampai 20.
Ukuran sakit ya sekitar 750.
750.000 rupiah. 750.000 rupiah. Di mix sama apa atau gimana gitu?
Jadinya apa?
Nah, Aragoke ini bisa tercipta itu
Dari
kayak
apa?
gimana
Oh,
asal muasalnya Pak?
Semua itu awalnya dari tembaga. Itu kok saya ternak tembaga ini kan ada ada Aragoke nah.
Oh, keluar.
Dari
Ada
tembaga
sendiri.
mula-mula ada Aragoke itu dijadikan.
Terus
The
bikin
first Oyagoe is actually the brown chagoe, yeah, and then suddenly just come out. Okay, yeah.
Seribu koi seribu warna, sahabat pecinta koi, apa kabar? Semoga sahabat koi dan ikan koinya tumbuh dengan menyenangkan ya. Oke, pada video konten episode koi kali ini sahabat koi, mungkin bisa dilihat tadi dari highlight ya. Ya, ini adalah video sambungan dari kunjungan dua orang tamu kita dari Belanda ya sahabat koi, yang sedang mengamati ikan koi dari Indonesia. Ya, terutama di wilayah Blitar ya. Keliling ke Blitar untuk melihat seperti apa sih pengembangan ikan koi yang ada di Blitar ini. Nah, sahabat koi, mungkin di video sebelumnya sahabat koi pernah lihat seperti apa perjalanan mereka, dan kali ini kita akan sambung dengan video terkait statement mereka setelah berkunjung ke Blitar ini. Terutama mungkin mereka di highlight tadi tanya harga ikan koi yang ada dari Blitar seberapa, dan kemudian mereka juga belajar bagaimana cara memijah ikan koi jenis tertentu. Oke sahabat koi, yuk langsung saja setelah ini kita dengarkan statement dari salah seorang dari mereka ya. Oke sahabat koi, yuk kita coba tanya lagi seperti apa sih pengalaman mereka melihat ikan koi di Blitar, dan mungkin bisa dibandingkan dengan ikan koi yang ada di Jepang ya sahabat koi. Nah, seperti apa pendapat dari beliau-beliau ini? Oke, Pak Dodo boleh disampaikan bahwa seperti apa sih mungkin perbandingan antara ikan koi yang ada di Blitar nih dengan yang ada di Jepang mungkin?
Ronald, thank you for coming to Blitar, and they want to know what's the comparison between Blitar koi and maybe Japanese koi. What do you think of them?
Yep.
And maybe you can give your insight.
Okay, very good question. But first, I want to tell something about my expectations.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, but we've done a lot of koi shows in Indonesia. I think this is the 7th or 8th time now that we are in Indonesia. And I noticed that some varieties were very good koi.
Oke.
And I was talking with the people, the owners of the koi, and I even recognized for me a new variety. It was called the banana koi. I've never seen it before, but I saw it a lot at the show in different sizes. So I said, hey, I see a pattern. What is this kind of koi? So you get in contact with the people, and they told me a lot about banana koi, but also I saw very good kinds of Kinwin. So I connect the two things in one, okay?
Yeah.
And especially when they're not so big, the King Ginwin is for high quality. Maybe body is not as good as the koi in Japan, but the quality of the King Ginwin is better than it is in Japan. So that is very interesting for me, of course, as a judge and as someone who loves the beauty of the koi. So get the contact. You have a lot of breeders in Blitar, and the funny is that the breeders don't even notice that they breed very good in Ginwin. Because for you it's normal, but for me, as someone who only see normal koi from Japan, I notice they are better than what I've seen before. And you translate this, yeah?
Jadi dia juga sudah mungkin 7 kali mencuri di Indonesia, dan dia menemukan ada sedikit perbedaan antara ikan koi yang dilombakan di Jepang dan di Indonesia. Jadi mungkin buat kita yang sudah terbiasa melihat, kita melihatnya sebagai hal yang biasa. Tetapi dia melihat ada sedikit hal yang berbeda. Contoh, ada ikan yang berwarna kuning. Dia pikir kok seperti pisang, warna pisang. Jadi dia menyebutnya sebagai banana koi, seperti itu. Tapi ada, ketika dia menjuri, ada mulai dari ukuran kecil hingga ukuran besar. Kok kayaknya cukup stabil, itu yang dirasakan oleh Mr. Ronald. Dan mungkin salah satu jenis lainnya yang tadi dia sebutkan adalah gimbrin. Buat kita mungkin gimbrinnya terlihat biasa saja, tetapi dia melihat gimbrin yang ada di Indonesia ini menurut dia lebih penuh dibanding yang ada di Jepang. Dan mungkin kalau saya boleh tambahkan sebagai importer ikan koi dari Jepang, memang biasanya kalau di Jepang itu ibu dari gimbrin itu biasanya bukan gimbrin, tetapi jenis yang biasa. Lalu mungkin bapaknya, pejantannya itu baru menggunakan gimbrin, sehingga mungkin gimbrinnya terlihat kurang penuh. Tetapi kalau di Indonesia, setahu saya bapak dan ibunya menggunakan gimbrin dan gimbrin, sehingga mungkin kualitas yang mereka lihat, kok gimbrin di Indonesia ini lebih baik atau lebih penuh atau lebih sempurna dibandingkan dengan yang mereka lihat waktu menjuri di lomba koi di Jepang. Jadi mereka melihat jenis ini tadi dia sebutkan, menurut mereka lebih baik dibanding yang mereka lihat di Jepang ataupun di Eropa. Seperti itu.
The same is also with the Budokoromo. I've had one very good Budokoromo for my own. It was a winner from Japan, Japan Champion B. In Japan you have only Gosenki and non-Gosenki, not like we have for the Eki in 5 categories. And I found it a beautiful koi, but I think it was 11 or 12 years old and then it died. So I thought, I'd like to have a new one, but I could never find one. And then at the koi shows here in Indonesia, I saw sometimes very good Budokoromos. So the same question, hey, where does this koi come from? Yeah, it's from Blitar. Hey, let's make it price, you know?
Yeah.
So got a bit curious about how would it look like in Blitar. Well, I'm a little bit different than Ruth. You will look like a twin, but in our minds we're not all equal. I can look at things and I don't have to, how do you say it, have some expectations about it. I can look at things, so how do you say it, without any, so objective as possible. And I've been for the first time to Japan in 2007. I've been there, I think 10 times or something. And also there I've seen in 2007 that there were small breeders. We also had a small kitchen, and in the kitchen the medicines laying for the koi to give antibiotics, and the same like Sakai Fish Farm in 2007. It was already a big farm, but it was not an industry like it is now. So I said, okay, now, I don't know what I'm going to see in Blitar, but I'm very curious to see how it looks like. And most funny, what I already told, is that the people don't know what potentials you have, and what are the good things. And that's, I think what Ruud also said, that you must even increase the things which are good. Or maybe when you can make that even more better, then it will be very good. Maybe a long story. Sorry.
Okay. Jadi dia menemukan ketika tadi dia menyebutkan gimbrin, dia juga sekarang menyebutkan jenis Budokoromo. Kebetulan dia memiliki satu ikan kesayangan, yaitu jenis Budokoromo dari Jepang. Dan ikan ini waktu itu pernah memenangkan sebagai Grand Champion B, karena waktu itu kelas hanya 2 antara Gosanke dan non Gosanke. Dan kebetulan ikan ini memenangkan sebagai yang non Gosanke, juara utamanya. Tapi ketika dia sudah memelihara ikan ini, mungkin karena umur, ikan ini mati dan dia sulit untuk mendapatkan jenis yang sama karena tidak adanya konsisten dari Jepang untuk mengembangbiakan jenis Budokoromo ini. Tapi ketika waktu itu dia menjuri di Indonesia, mungkin waktu itu saat Asia Cup, dia melihat banyak Budokoromo yang bagus-bagus menurut dia. Lalu dia menanyakan, ikan ini dari mana asalnya? Dan dijawab dari Blitar. Makanya dia sangat ingin melihat Budogoromo di Blitar. Jadi dia juga mungkin memotivasi kita semua di sini. Mungkin buat kita yang sudah terbiasa melihat, buat kita menjadi satu hal yang biasa. Tetapi buat mereka yang dari luar negeri, ini adalah salah satu keunggulan yang harusnya terus dikembangkan hingga maksimal. Jadi seperti jenis Gibrin dan jenis Budogoromo, mungkin kita melihatnya sebagai sesuatu jenis yang biasa-biasa saja. Tetapi buat orang luar negeri dari Eropa, mereka melihat ini sebagai sesuatu hal yang luar biasa. Jadi mereka berharap untuk kualitas yang ada itu terus ditingkatkan seperti itu.
Ada beberapa jenis yang memang potensinya bagus ya Pak, terutama di Eropa sendiri itu sangat disukai, mungkin seperti itu ya.
Yeah. So how many else you think aside Gibrin and Budogoromo that Indonesia can potentially develop?
I think there can be a lot more. First, I want to say something else about the Budogoromo. Budogoromo are also in Europe less people who like Budogoromo. So I don't hope that every breeder in Indonesia now thinks from, oh, we're going to breed Budogoromo, but that's something we are good in, because there's no market for it. There may be 100 or 200 of these coins in the Netherlands, and then I think it's small. It's not like those things. But I think one of the also good things of Indonesia is the growth potential. They have here all year a very good climate, so the koi can grow all year. So that's different, like it is in Netherlands or in Japan. In Japan you have also a winter, so there's also 5 months that they cannot feed the koi because there's a lot of snow and Niigata. You've been there yourself, and so that's something we can use in Indonesia for making the koi maybe bigger. The skin is already good, so we have the time, but we have also more time for spawning, etc. Like in Indonesia, you can do 1 spawning a year with a koi, but here you have 2 or maybe 3 times. So you can try more crossbreds to make the koi better. It will take time, of course, but hey, time is in Indonesia. So, I think that the potential is very high, and when we have more education about what makes koi less stressful, it's better that he has the, how do you say it, the time to grow, and he can put all his energy in growing, and he doesn't have to be aware of sickness or bad water. So then he can put all his energy in growing, and it needs less food, for instance. So less food for the koi till they grow as big as they were. No, it saves money. So there are a lot of things also for the breeders which can make it better, and the fish can become better. And when the fish is becoming better, they can become more expensive. I mean, 20 years ago in Japan, when you had a very expensive koi, it was maybe let me I'd say it in dollars, maybe $2,000 or $3,000, and now a very expensive koi is maybe 20,000, 30,000, or 50,000. Sometimes you see Nissai koi from auction for $50,000, and then you think, you never know if it really will be such a good koi when it is 80 centimeters.
Jadi menurut Mr. Ronald, ini potensi untuk Indonesia itu sangat amat besar. Jadi terutama Blitar, setelah kunjungan 2 hari ini, dia mendapatkan selain kualitas, Blitar juga dikaruniai oleh air yang baik. Mungkin dengan kandungan mineral, jadi kita ngelihat di Matpot itu bisa langsung ganti air dari sumber air tanah tanpa air itu harus difiltrasi lagi. Jadi menurut dia potensi ikan-ikan di Blitar ini sangat amat bisa dikembangkan secara maksimal, tetapi tidak tergantung dari kita apakah kita mau mengembangkan hingga full potential atau tidak. Jadi dia melihat Indonesia ini seharusnya bisa menjadi pilihan bahkan kedua dari Jepang. Jadi mungkin saat ini di dalam era global trading ini mungkin juga ada China yang musimnya sama dengan Jepang, 4 musim. Mereka juga memproduksi ikan koi. Tetapi ada satu kendala buat orang luar membeli ikan koi di China itu dengan harga yang hampir mirip dengan di Jepang. Jadi ketika sama hampir mirip harganya, kenapa harus membeli dari China? Jadi mereka tetap membeli dari Jepang untuk orang-orang Eropa. Nah, jika mungkin para penangkar koi di Indonesia bisa memberikan harga yang mungkin rada sedikit berbeda dengan Jepang, dan mereka mau mencoba koi-koi Indonesia, ada kemungkinan besar ketika mereka sudah cocok, mungkin mereka akan beralih dari Jepang ke Indonesia. So I'm telling about the potential of switching from Japanese koi to Indonesian koi if with the price if not slightly closer to the Japanese. So the price is slightly a bit different. Maybe they want to try Indonesia and then happy and then switching.
There are two components I think about the prices of Japan, because a lot of Chinese have tremendous much money and they wanted to have the buy from the best dealer. Like people like to have a Rolls Royce or a Mercedes or a Ferrari or something, because they have a lot of money and they want to show everyone, hey, I have a Ferrari or I have a Rolls Royce. And so it's the same with these Chinese guys. They want to buy from the auction a fish from Kentaro Sakai, because they can tell, hey, I bought a koi for $200,000. See how big I am. But it's difficult to understand maybe, because that's not in the Indonesian culture, also not really in the Netherlands, maybe a little bit less. But so another component, of course, is that if there are how do you say it? Cheaper, also the less expensive koi, something else, the cheaper koi in Japan are also good, but because of there is a lot of question from the market, the prices go up, and I think you see that China is now trying to get between it, and a big part of China comes out. It's also the same climate like we have here in Indonesia, but they have more knowledge because they buy the knowledge from Kentaro Sakai and other Japanese breeders, and they help them to make their industry big. Now we don't have that opportunity to say to Kentaro, hey, we do have $80 million to help us, so we have to do it for our own. Now it's no problem. We need more time, of course, but okay, our facilities are cheaper, so we can offer the koi for a lower price. But we have to improve the koi. We have to be sure that koi are now, okay, when they come big, they are maybe 70 cm, so we have to make them bigger. So we can learn about the Japanese from Sky Fish Farm. His very best senkis are with a crossbred from a mango karashi to make it bigger. You don't see it in the senki, but it has been crossbred. So the DNA of growing is now in the senki. And now senki of 1 meter. Okay, that's not very special, but when you are looking good for your koi, can become a meter, a huge body, etc., etc. But that also took a lot of time. But what we've learned from them, we can use for ourselves.
Jadi dia mengatakan secara garis besarnya dan singkatnya, jika orang Indonesia mau meningkatkan kualitas sehingga mungkin jenis lain yang tadi dia sebutkan, ada jenis lain seperti Gosake hampir mengimbangi dengan Jepang, dengan harga yang di bawah Jepang, ada kemungkinan orang-orang dari luar negeri bisa beralih ke Indonesia. Dan ketika mereka mendapatkan ikan ini cocok, mungkin mereka ke depannya akan terus membeli dan datang ke Indonesia untuk membeli ikan koi. Gitu. Jadi menurut dia tingkatkan kualitas, mungkin harga jangan terlalu buru-buru dinaikkan, supaya orang bisa mencoba dulu kualitas dan memelihara ikan koi di Indonesia seperti apa. Mungkin singkat dan garis besarnya seperti itu.
There are two important things of a koi when you are a breeder. You must have a good body frame, and a good skin. Now the good skin is already there. So I think it's even more difficult to get a good skin than a good body, because you can crossbred that, but when you don't have good skin in your bloodlines, you will never get it. And so it must be there when it is even small koi.
Oke.
Yeah, so we have to work on the body and the body frame.
Ya. Jadi dari kunjungannya di Blitar itu dia memiliki 2 saran kepada para penangkar koi di Blitar untuk memiliki 2 kriteria yang baik dari koi-koi yang diproduksinya, yaitu kualitas yang baik skin, kulitnya, dan mungkin body shape-nya. Dan dia melihat yang nomor 1 ini sebetulnya kualitas skinnya itu sudah cukup baik di Blitar ini. Jadi mungkin tingkatkan untuk badannya seperti itu. Jadi itu saran dari Mr. Ronald.
Nah,
Ya.
ini sahabat koi ya, saran-saran dari beliau. Dan
Ya.
mungkin satu pertanyaan Pak Dodo, selain ikan koi apa yang menarik di Blitar?
Okay, aside koi, what is interesting for you in Blitar?
Aside of koi.
Aside of koi.
Well, I think we only have seen a koi almost.
And some food.
And a lot of food. But yeah, I think that Blitar is for a big part the same as it is outside of Jakarta. You know, they are friendly people. When you come there, they are very honored that you are coming, and they are very. The hospitality is very good, and we enjoy it always much to come in this region, especially when you are there, because you are a very good translator, of course, and you know a little bit how we think. But yeah, it's the Indonesian food, the culture, the people. It's everything around that. Yeah, but for it's the same like it is with the koi, but for you is normal. And that for us is that's nice.
Ya. Jadi di luar dari koi, yang mereka sukai selain makanannya yang ada di sini, juga terutama kebudayaan mungkin Jawa Timuran ini. Jadi mereka mendapati orang-orang Blitar ini semuanya ramah dan bersahabat. Jadi ketika kita datang ke kunjungan ke para penangkar itu ataupun para dealer-dealer koi, mereka merasa disambut dengan baik. Jadi mereka merasa diterima, lalu mungkin disuguhi makanan dan minuman lokal. Nah itu mereka merasa ini tidak banyak mereka temui di dunia barat maupun mungkin bahkan di Jepang sendiri. Jadi mereka mendapati bahkan mungkin Jakarta tidak ada, tapi di kota seperti Blitar ini keramah-tamahan itu masih ada, kebudayaan itu masih ada, dan itu yang berbekas untuk mereka.
Nah itu dari sahabat koi. Jadi kalau aman buat semuanya Pak Dodo ya. Jadi mau datang kapanpun welcome semuanya dari Blitar dan lingkungan semuanya. Dan kita ucapkan sekali lagi terima kasih buat thank you very much to come to Blitar.
Terima kasih.
Oke, dan mungkin akan datang lagi.
Maybe you will come again next time.
Yeah, for sure. If it fits in our schedule of our work in the Netherlands and other koi shows and families and a lot of other stuff, we will fun to come again.
Oke, itu tadi sahabat koi, kapan-kapan mau datang lagi dan mungkin bisa belanja ikan koi lebih banyak kalau Oke, terima kasih.
Oke.
Thank you. Nah, itu tadi ya sahabat koi, menarik, dan kita ucapkan terima kasih atas kunjungannya, dan kita harapkan ada berkelanjutan hubungan setelah kunjungan ini ya sahabat koi. Semoga tahun depan kita bisa berjumpa lagi dan membangun bisnis ekspor ikan koi ke wilayah Eropa ya. Dan sekali lagi terima kasih buat Mr. Ronald dan Mr. Ruth atas kunjungannya ke wilayah Blitar. Semoga kunjungan ini memberikan gambaran dan pencerahan terkait ikan koi dari Blitar. Oke, terima kasih. 1000 koi 1000 warna. Kita ketemu lagi di video-video selanjutnya.